Bienvenue, les petits mon chers. This is Noir&Nerdy, back to introduce our new episode talking about Interview with a Vampire. We're going to be recapping season 1 to get you ready for season 2. I'm Joy from Brooklyn, and here with me, my other blog members, Kiara.
Hi, guys.
Oh, God. So you guys excited to get into this episode?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You speak French?
I'm learning a little something.
Oh.
Actually, when I first started learning, and then when season 1 of Daryl Dixon came, because you're like, oh, I'm learning, but I don't have anybody like to speak with, so I don't know how well I'm doing with it. But when season 1 of Daryl Dixon came, I was like, all right, Duolingo. Shout out to you. Sponsor us if you listen from Duo. Sponsor us, thank you. I would
Because
like
iTunes
give me a
learn
year
French.
membership or something. I don't care. I'll put your little thing, a little link in it. Just give me a year. I'm cheap right now. You can get me at a discount. Only for you. Only for that little hour.
So the episode is just called Pilot, right?
Yes.
No, first episode is In the Throes of Increasing Wonder.
Oh.
So yeah, we're going to be covering the first 2 episodes. So In the Throes of Increasing Wonder, and then episode 2 is After the Phantoms of Your Former Self.
Yeah.
So we'll cover the first 2. So we're kind of going to do the same method that we had done with Parish to catch up. So we're going to do 2 episodes, 2 episodes, 2 episodes, and then the 7th episode we'll do an individual, and that should lead us right into the following week will be the first episode of season 2.
Okay, let's see.
So
I was trying to find like the director, the producer.
yeah. Well, while you find that, I could just give a little background on Interview with a Vampire if anybody doesn't know about it already. So, this is based on books. You've seen the movie with
Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise.
And Tom Cruise.
And who was that? Kirsten Dunst.
Kristen Dunst back in the day. But all of it, and you may have seen Queen of the Damned. All of that falls under the umbrella of the Vampire Chronicle. So that's all written by Anne Rice. She started these books in the 70s. So Interview with a Vampire was written in 19. Her follow-up to that was The Vampire Lestat. That came out in 19. Just something like that. Don't quote me exactly. Then the following after that came out in 18. So all of her books, yeah, like I went hard. I started reading these books in the like early 90s. So when that original movie came out, I was like so excited to see it come to life. So now I'm even more excited to see it in a series where they can like dig deeper and they can go back kind of to the original source material, and they can reveal more and they can give more depth and character to everyone that people who didn't read the books may not have gotten in that original movie.
I did find, which interestingly enough, since we're doing 2 episodes at a time, the first 2 episodes were directed by Alan Taylor. The producers are Jessica Held and Adam O'Byrne, and the executive producers are Rollin Jones, Mark Johnson, Alan Taylor, Anne Rice, posthumously, and Christopher Rice, who is her son and an author.
Mm-hmm. They wrote a couple of like the last books together.
Okay.
So she has like a whole universe. It's not just vampires. AMC has the other series with the witching hour. She has werewolves. She has some other things also. So I will give that away if you're interested in the book. But it's not just this one section of monster lore. Like she expands from there. And she also has some erotic novels, which I also have as well. She covers different genres, different creatures. So we hope that we get, like, this picks up really well and it continues to expand. And was very protective of her work. So when she finally signed on to do Interview with a Vampire, she was a little upset about Tom Cruise's casting because Lestat is based on her husband, Stanley. And Louis is based on herself. So she was like, I don't think he could pull it off. But then after, she ended up loving his portrayal. I had the same reservations when Tom got cast, and I was like, is he going to be? But to date, I still say that's my favorite role of his. He completely brought the Brat Prince to life. So with this series, I was nervous too about Sam Reed taking the part, and I was like, I had no doubt about Jacob Anderson. I was like, he's going to kill Louis again. I still was like, but he's black. How is he going to be Louis? And how are we going to change that around? So we'll talk about that differences from the book and the series. But Sam Reed killed it. Like when I see him now, I see Lestat, and it's just a bit
very much so.
Before we dive too deep in, since this is a part of a universe, are you ladies down with covering the Mayfair Witches and Talamasca?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know I am. You know the the fangirl nerd in me is just like, ah, like, you know, anybody who's watching or knows me knows like Walking Dead is my jam, specifically Michonne. But this was like my original like go hard for like the minute Anne had a new book out. I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting that book. Like I'm pre-ordering it. Like I can't wait. Like it's like I don't know what she's gonna be talking about in this one, but I just know I'm gonna be there and I'm just gonna dig in and this is where I'm gonna be. So oddly enough, when I went to Cali for the Ones Who Live premiere and had the opportunity the day before to meet Andy and Denai, I completely didn't expect for Sam and Jacob to be there. So seeing them, I lost my shit. Like all of the cool completely left my body, and I was just blathering like a friggin' idiot. And I'm like, oh, that was no. like no. And then the next night at the Ones Who Live premiere, I met Assad, who plays Rashid, and I was like, I'm so excited to meet you also, and I had no cool yesterday, so I'm gonna try to keep some of my dignity. And he was so cool. He was like, no, like he's like, I still freak out when I meet them also, like when I'm acting with them, when I'm with them, and he's like, I just can't believe I'm with them. And he's like, so it's completely, it makes complete sense because I do the same thing. And he was like, but I'm newer to this. So he was like, so you can completely fan out with me right now. And I was like, yay.
Oh, how sweet of him.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if we go, like, you know, you ladies got to pull me back, because if I go too far into my nerddom, like, I got to be like, all right, calm down.
Me and my cousin, one of my cousins, we were readers growing up, but I don't know, we kind of veered off in two different directions. Like, I was always Stephen King, and she was always the Anne Rice freak. Always.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Stephen King. I told you, Kara, what my jam was.
So we would like talk to each other about each other's books, and she made me read Interview with a Vampire. I can't remember, like, of course, I read more because I was always the type of person that if I knew a movie was coming out and it had a book, I wanted to go read the book first. Mm-hmm. So it was so long ago, and I've read so many books that, like, I don't know, you kind of have to, like, start to hear or see the story again for things to, like, start coming back to you. And as I'm watching the show, the movies, like, I'm comparing these characters I've seen in the movies to these guys I'm seeing on the screen right now, and it's not gelling, but it's not a bad thing, because I feel like they were written to play two different types of characters anyway. Like the Lestat here and the Lestat there were, to me, different. Like there's something different about them significantly and how they're written. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think that was going to be one of the things that I was going to talk about, that the shift in the story and the way the story was changed for the movie, the series, bit more true to the books in one aspect, but different in another. But what, like, me knowing, like, the whole thing, like, your feelings about Lestat are exactly correct. because that's how Lestat is. He's to Anne, she wrote him in her head, he's a hero. So he's the type of character that one minute you're like, oh no. Like, oh no, like you're a monster. And then the next minute you're like, oh, let me peel back these layers, and you start to realize why he behaves certain ways and how it prompts him to into things. And again, like the same thing with humans, like that our history and things that we've gone through affect how we behave. And so he's just had so much longer to have experiences that shape him. And so, and then you add that to being preternatural, it just is just the perfect storm of like feelings coming together and actions that can be brutal and have drastic consequences.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. If you ever looked through my interview with the Vampire Notes, there's, oh, they're so perfect for each other. Oh, what's that? So this, what's that? So that. And then you go down like 3 or 4 lines and it's like, I'm sick of what's that's bullshit. He needs to get out. He needs to get out right now.
Correct. Absolutely. Exactly what it feels like with him. And then there'll be a moment where there's some softness of him that will leak through, and you're like, oh, that's why. But that don't excuse what you did. Mm-hmm. Like, it just gives me some understanding of why you are in the place that you are. And Louis, why you have to put up with this? Like, you have to put up with this and still have to figure out everything for yourself, essentially. So, yeah. The episode starts with the short title sequence. I love that, because let's get right to the meat and potatoes. But I love that the marrying of the cities. So it's kind of like there's a human city, then there's the supernatural city, and the things that go on there that other people don't realize that's happening. But also the structures come together to kind of form like fangs.
I was just about to say, it looked, and sorry, I hate to go off topic, but they confirmed that the interviewer was based off Anthony Bourdain, right? For this show, because I love Anthony. So as soon as it opens, that's immediately what I thought of and what my brain went to when I saw him, because I used to watch his show all the time. It was crazy, and he was one of my favorite like chef / travel channel hosts. So that's the only person I can think about when I see it. Even the way he's portrayed. I don't want to excuse me, I don't want to get his name wrong.
Daniel. Oh, you talking about the actor?
Eric Bogosian. I don't want to say it wrong, but the one, Daniel Malloy. Yeah, his character. I can't help but think, was that who was supposed to be, maybe? Because is he an actor? I don't know.
No, well, I guess for the show, they kind of like pictured that type of guy to give the new modern update. But remember, the book was written like in the 70s.
Right.
But
I did like that little difference in the portrayal of how he was there versus the movie versus I liked that difference.
Okay, so anybody who's watching, I'm going to give, obviously there's going to be spoilers for episode 1 and 2, but I'm going to give little pieces of like the book that will, so there might be little things that if you plan on reading the book, that is going to be like little giveaways there, but I'm going to try to keep them as tight as possible. So in the movie, Christian, so I love the fact that in this, they have someone older playing Daniel, because it makes a difference in what happens in the stories going forward. In the books that go forward, the things that happen with Daniel. So the aging up was important to do, because obviously they couldn't, unless you did something like what's Kurt Russell's son's name? Like in the Godzilla series, how they have Kirk is playing the older version of the character and his son plays the younger version. Unless you did something like that, where it was like you got someone younger, the son or something, or someone who looks just like the actor to play him younger to start the first round of the interviews, and then someone to come along later on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I love that they thought to do that, because if they want to have longevity in the
Mm.
series and in this universe, then they needed to have someone who's older and jump to that part, because they're going to want to get to that meat and potatoes sooner than.
I just want to say that the first thing I wrote down was Louis was Grey Worm.
Yeah. That's initially why I jumped to watch this, because I said, because I loved Grey Worm
Me
in
too.
Game of Thrones, so
Oh
that's
my god.
that's why I jumped to watch this.
Yeah, my daughter loved Grey Worm, like loved Grey Worm
Loved
also.
him. Him
But
and Miss
yeah,
Sunday.
when
Oh my
Jacob got
gosh.
announced again, I was a little like, how is he gonna play a plantation owner? But but you know, there has
They
been a, you know what, it honestly kind of works right now, since there's a whole conversation going around on Twitter right now. If you know, it's a chaos. It's probably on other social media about what being Creole is.
Oh right. Oh
So
man.
it kind of works right into that story also,
It does very much so.
about the levels that were set in place in that state and the parishes, and what your proximity to whiteness allowed you to have.
Hmm.
So it still works. But yeah, when he first got announced, I was like, huh? But I was like, oh, I know Jacob is going to kill it, and it's going to be amazing. And I was like, I knew that he was going to bring the softness, this Louis, to it, but also the latent viciousness that's there also. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to bring that. He's going to bring it. It's going to be amazing.
He's doing a phenomenal job. Just ridiculous. So admittedly, the first time they put it on, they like stuck it between two Walking Dead shows, and I really had an attitude about it, so I didn't watch it. And then later on, I did end up like going back trying to watch a few episodes, but it was so much going on that I'm realizing now watching it, I didn't pay anywhere near as much attention as I was supposed to pay, because like the way I watch now, the way I feel when I watch the episodes now, and the way like my brain keeps trying to transport me through time back to like the books and the other movies, and then even Queen of the Damned with Aaliyah, like all the storylines and stuff is like swirling around in my head as I'm watching this, because I guess, you know, your brain just naturally tries to make those connections when you realize things are so connected. So it's been very interesting.
So yeah, so we start the episode with Daniel having a pitch meeting for what he plans on doing with his journalism career, and then we get like a little hint that he's unwell. He's
Yeah.
speaking with a doctor, and then we go to him opening his mail and getting those tapes, and he's like, no. Like, no, behind me. Like, why are these tapes here? And then he reads that letter from Louis, and he's drawn right back into it. And next thing, he's in Dubai. And like, sir, you could have ignored the stuff and pretended. So his whole like little attitude, the little farce that he puts up when he gets there, like, yeah, I'm the boss, and it's like, you've been through this already when you met Louis before, and you know full well how that ended, and that did not end with you being the boss. So why are you coming here trying to act like you bossed up now? But also, you get it also from a human perspective, like in the part in the episode when he's like, you know, like, stop referring to him as like the boy, and so he's like, I'm a grown man now. Like, you met me when I was, you know, a novice at this, and now I've grown, and you told me now that you watched my career over these years. So, like, put some respect on my name and
Put
talk
some
to me.
respect on him.
And also
You see me
just
sitting here with this white hair on my head, like.
and also the element of, you know, the whole life that he's lived, coming back to the situation now, like kind of wanting to be the boss, like basically crabby old man. Yes, of course he's a crabby old man. It's just I
Yeah.
actually really love that aspect of it. The part of it, you know, as you get older, the I don't give a fuck in you just gets stronger and
Mm.
more like
He's like, whether you're a vampire or not, like, you're not gonna
right.
talk to me crazy.
Exactly. Like I done lived too long and been through too much crap for you to think you about to sit here and talk to me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I love the little aspects about how Louis has adapted to technology. When he's in Dubai, you see how his windows are like
Yeah.
special, like where he can see out, he can see everything, and his windows are treated so that the sunlight doesn't get to him, and just how he's basically become an advanced vampire at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and how far he's come. Because it's just, I don't know, I really did love seeing that, because I don't think that's something you get in the book, or that we got in the in that first movie. So to just see that little bit of Louis working with technology basically to help him be better at vampiring.
It's kind of like in the book, Louis he's always wanted to know more.
Mm,
He's always been that type of person. So even as a vampire, he's still that type of person, and that's what brings a lot of conflict for him and Lestat, because Lestat is unwilling to divulge information to him
Mm-hmm.
because of a fear of his.
mm,
But Louis not going to be bound by that, and so he does expand and get his own, and goes out and ventures to get his own knowledge at some point in time. So it all tracks with him being up to date on things and in the know and figuring out how to advance. It does one thing, it does counter his statement about how he doesn't miss the sun.
right.
And I was like, you do miss the
You
sun.
do,
Mm-hmm.
because he made sure to find a way to be able
Yeah.
to see it out in that beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful view. I would want to see it too.
Yeah. There's also another reason, but I won't go into that
Mm,
in this one. If we get to that in the season, in the series 2, or I mean season 2 or going forward, then I'll give that little tidbit out. Actually, I think you probably will. They probably will in season 2.
I hope so.
Okay, so then we have Louis and
Daniel.
uh, Daniel getting reacquainted again before he's like, "Look, cut the shit. Like, I don't need to take a nap. I don't need no dinner. Like, I done flew all the way out here," because they probably flew in super first class,
Right.
or a private jet out there. Let's just get to the damn
Let's
interview
get to
now.
the tea, and we get to go back in time.
Like, and this time I'm going to be in control of the interview because I know what I'm doing now. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're just going to answer my goddamn questions, and you're going to give me the pieces that I want to the story. So we're transported back to 19 and New Orleans. New Orleans.
The
I'm
French
sorry,
Quarter
people
is this,
from Louisiana. Can't do accents.
and what do we have? We see Lestat in that first scene, right?
He's stalking.
Oh yeah,
Stalking his prey.
he's a
Absolutely.
super creep that literally wrote Lestat is a full on creep.
Literally spotted Louis before we get to.
So
Cause
okay, so that's an immediate difference between the books. So in the books, Louis, the family structure is the same. He has a mother. His father has recently passed away. He becomes the lead of the family. He has a sister who's engaged. He has a brother who he's the closest with, but his brother has some issues. So that structure, I was happy that they returned to that from what they did in the movies, because they gave Louis a wife and child that died, and that's the reason that he ended up in despair. And I think they did that in the first one because they wanted to lean away from the homosexual tones of the
mm,
story. So here I was glad that they brought those elements back, because then you didn't need to change the family around to lessen that feel for it. And then obviously if you're watching the show, they have leaned heavily into him. Like, yes. But Louis in the books is the head of a plantation and he has slaves. So that's what he does in the books. So here they changed it around, and again we talk about the levels of proximity to whiteness with octoroon, quadroon, mulattoes, and in being Creole, and it allows certain things for you to be able to have in life down there, but still kept you under the thumb, like he says, with slavery is over, but Jim Crow laws are still very much in effect in that environment. So it's him trying to navigate being the owner, being the head of this family, suddenly having to save his family because the father was about 4 months away from losing the property, and him having to change the business around from the plantation into running brothel down in Storyville.
Yep. And we open up with ooh, some wild things going on in the brothel on the open up. Anyone who watched P-Valley knows this lady's one of my favorites. One of
Yeah.
Louis' experienced working girls. Who what did she do? Did she cut him?
She hit him on the head, and
Oh, okay.
she gave him a little taste of what he wanted. Gave him a little taste of what he wanted, and I was
He was
like,
looking
oh.
for it, absolutely. Ask
And
him,
that's what you
shall
get, sir,
receive.
because you come down here because you wanna hunch on colored girls, and you're doing it because you clearly must have some attraction, but you also
Being weird.
are being a weirdo and thinking that
You can just do whatever.
that you can take advantage and do whatever you want down here. Um, Even like when Louis comes in and has to intervene, and there's that moment again where we see like Louis. That's the thing that I love about the show, that the swap of adding Jacob in as Louis, that we get to tackle some of the issues that you would have dealt with being a person of color or being black or being colored during that time. And it's integrated into the story smoothly. It doesn't feel like trauma porn. It just feels like, yes, this is what he would have had to deal with, even in that time, even with being a stakeholder, the rooms that he would go into to do his dealings, this is what he would have to deal with. And I enjoyed that part of the story. This is put in so well.
Even while he's, an equal, so-called an equal to them, it's still yes sir, no sir. And the way it just flowed out of him very naturally, like it's just something that he's always been doing, and it doesn't even come with a thought behind it. I really appreciated it. I don't know. It seems like something very simple, but he pulled it off very well.
It makes us, it's those moments where it makes us think about the progress that we have made, because you think about like your parents, your grandparents, that these are the things they had to just, like you said, it just was natural for them to just put their head down, not to make conversation, to, be referred to in the inferior, and just go on about their lives. And that like the type of hurt that it deep down did to their soul, but they still persevered through all of that. And yeah, like, all right.
And I knew that was how Lestat was going to come at him during that card game too. Like I was like, yeah, he's about to be like, why are you letting these motherfuckers talk to you like this? Why are you letting them treat you like this? What's going on here? Because that again kind of is a repeated story of like people from other countries coming over here being like, why are y'all treating black people like this? What is going on?
Gagged.
So
he couldn't believe him. Yeah. He could not believe. He was appalled at the audacity, which I appreciated. Like I really loved how they displayed his obvious disgust for the racism. Loved it.
But it's also that balance of he doesn't really understand it.
Yeah. He doesn't like. He really does not understand the concept of racism, and that I actually like how they portrayed that. Like he really couldn't get it. He's like, what is wrong with y'all? What is this?
why are y'all
And he
acting?
didn't understand why Louis had to behave that way.
It was like, why are y'all acting like that? But also, why are you acting like that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
why are you accepting
yeah.
this?
And it was also part of Lestat's plan to seduce him. Because I can give you something that's going to allow you to not have to be in these confines anymore. And what person who's oppressed wouldn't want that? So it just went again perfectly into the storyline and just was like, oh, okay. All the questions that I had originally when Jacob got cast, and I was like, how is he going? Oh, you know what?
Very well.
Yes, like yes, it's all right there for you.
Oh wait, okay. I think it's safe to talk about this part. Maybe it's not. If it's not, I'll just edit it. So when he was basically kind of having the first conversation with him, like, you know, you don't have to deal with their attitude, you don't have to like deal with this racism BS. Basically, I have money, I have this, I have that, and he's like, it's not about the money. And then the conversation went on, and then he said, like, basically, like, oh, so I'm supposed to just live off your money? I need to have my own money. And he's like, so it is about the money. So him not understanding racism made him completely unable to understand that part of his anger as well. So that was like kind of the downfall of him not understanding the situation fully, is like he just couldn't
Absolutely
grasp why like that shit was not about to go down, basically.
right.
Yeah.
And I still don't remember what episode I'm even talking about right now.
No, yeah, that wasn't one.
Oh.
I believe that was in one because you're talking about the conversation they have when they're at the brothel, the White Run one, when he goes to see Miss
Yes.
Lily. Yeah, that is in there. Because again, of course, first because it's just true to who Lestat is. Like he's doing this stalker thing. He's trying to seduce him, but he's also antagonizing him. But then he turns around and soothes him and tells him that he can give him these things, but then the next minute he's being weird with him. It's like a very manipulative relationship that's going on here. But Louis says, like, let the tale seduce you. Like, he was being seduced that whole time, and he just didn't realize what was happening until he, even when he's preternatural, he's still caught in the web for various reasons. But that whole time that, he's just trying to figure out what's going on. And then his history in his life of growing up Catholic. You have a brother who wanted to be a priest. That's the person you've been the closest to, you've loved the most in your whole life. And you see him going through psychosis, but then you're questioning whether it really is psychosis or if he really is communing with God and the spirits, and you're just that far removed from it that you're not picking up on that. Like, all of that crashing on him at the same time. And then you got your mother. Again, I was like, Ray Dawn Chung, get that money. Like, everybody back in the day knows Ray Dawn Chung. Love seeing her here playing the mother.
Can't stand her ass on the show, but love to see her. I have not written one good thing down about his mother. Not one.
A Florence hater. All right, there's only one reason that I'm like, oh, Florence. Like, oh no, there's two reasons. There's two reasons that I'm like, oh, Florence. But one of them, I kind of give it like the time.
Yeah.
Is like, the time is going to have her those type of feelings. The other one we'll talk about when we get to that part.
They tend to portray moms a certain way in entertainment. And this thing that they do where like that one kid, she just seems to despise whether he's doing right, whether he's doing wrong, whether he's indifferent, whether it don't like whatever he's doing is wrong. And I just feel like that's how she is with Louis, and it pisses me off so much. Because like you could tell like
same thing that's happening with him and Lestat. Because she praises him for saving them and keeping them from being in the streets and having lost everything.
Right.
Because when Paul is saying like, you know what he doing? You know what he doing down there in them streets? And she just like, you know, he got to do what he got to do. Let's not talk about that at the table. Like, he's keeping his family afloat. You know, we're about to move in something bigger and nicer as at some point in time. Like, she wants all of the things that come with it, but she also despises him for what he's doing at the same time and who he is as a person. You know what's kind of weird? It's like when you see in movies and shows, if somebody's a criminal, a drug dealer or whatever, like the parent knows what they're doing. They take the spoils from it to live lavish, but they also look down on the child also.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, what is that? Snowfall, or what is that? BMF, Mr. Unpay the Bill.
Okay, see, I haven't watched those shows, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely has that thing where they're benefiting from it and simultaneously looking down on it.
To backtrack a little bit, because I did write, I don't know why I was so like invested in him as a human being, knowing that he was going to be human for about 30 seconds of this entire series. But I don't know, like his swag when he was a human being, I was like,
It was
oh
crazy.
yeah. Not that it really changed when he got turned, but he did change. Like something about his personality changed to me a little bit when he got turned. I don't know. I feel like it actually took the edge off a little bit for him being turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
Or maybe knowing he had the power that he had made him feel like he didn't have to try so hard to be mean and angry and, you know, the person that has to get shit done in a certain way to be respected and all that other stuff. Like, I don't know. Something about it changed in a good way to me. But also, you know, sometimes we'd be like, I know he bad. But
oh yeah, that I did want to say that is a change from the book. In the books, Lestat doesn't have any money. Louis is the one with the money.
Okay.
They changed that around. It's one of the reasons that Lestat goes after Louis, because in the books he actually has a father that's alive, and his father is like blind, going deaf, and bedridden and ill, really ill, like, you know, at the end of his life stage. And Lestat, because of his temperament, he can't control the things he does for too long. And it's kind of like, you know, like when you see a child that ends up having to take care of their parent, but their parent wasn't good to them in life. And we get a glimpse of that at the card table with the game. No, it's later on when the conversation with Paul, when he entrances Paul at the table. And he talks about his connections, what his connection was to God, and how his brothers and father. Do they say brothers in the show, or is that in the books only?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But in the books, he has a mother, father, and he has brothers. And he's like the youngest of those siblings. And his mother was the only one that was kind to him. So I'll just say that part. But you do get the part where he talks about that with when he entrances Paul, and he talks about the cruelty that he suffered and them removing him from school, and how he was wanting to be a priest at that time. So that just ties all back to, again, like the undercurrent of who Lestat is and what he's hiding in those moments. But yeah, we're going to dig deeper into him with that.
I have to bring this up a little bit because we are talking about. So we all know mental health is a stigma in the Black community already.
Yeah.
But this is like back in the day in the Black community.
Yeah, the level of neglect was crazy.
It was
he needed help bad.
Yeah.
Like, he really needed help.
You know,
he had been in an institution already. The father had put him away, and then they brought him out because it kind of like what they did back then. They used those people to experiment on. They kept them doped up, beating them, assaulting them, and they would just be like zombies sitting there. So Louis was like, "Nope, I'm gonna go get my brother."
He said he
and brought
came
him
back out
home.
worse than he went in.
Yeah.
Which happens very often, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Very much, especially then.
And the Sister Grace, that's what she wanted to find she had found a new place. Her and her fiance had found a new place that they wanted to put Paul, but Louis was against that. So again, it's going to go into his later on grief. You know, like if we had to follow what Grace said, could things have been different?
You know, I'm getting my psychology degree, so I'm watching the things that he's going through and the things that he's saying and how he's reacting to things. And because of how long he was neglected, I I don't know that anyone would have been able to do a whole lot to change him at that point. I feel like they would have had no choice but to kind of keep him drugged up.
Yeah.
That kind of, and no one wants to live like that. And I feel like when he had moments of clarity, that's probably the things he thought about that caused him to do what he did in the first place. Like, I'm either going to be this person walking around talking nonsense, no one understands what I mean, or I'm going to be a vegetable, drugged up, locked in somebody's facility.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, you know, that's what they thought their options were, unfortunately.
Yeah. With Paul, it's hard because I imagine when he first started talking about, you know, how he has a connection to God and stuff, people probably were excited about that and thought like, oh, this boy's gonna grow up and be super holy, and you know, he has ambitions to be a priest, and he's reading all the books, and they probably didn't pay attention that it was underlaying, you know, mental health issues there.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, during the time period and in the community, it wasn't something that is talked about.
To this
So
day.
they would want to just make it seem like, no, he's just holy and devout, and that's what it is. Until it got to the older he got, probably is when it got to be like, okay, now this is out of control. And I do. All right. So some of the reason that I give a little bit of grace to Florence is because Louis brought him out and brought him back home. But then he's out in the street.
Mm-hmm.
You bring back your brother who has all these issues, but then you're out in the street. And so now me and Grace are left to deal with it. And so of course, like there's gonna be like a resentment there also. Because
Right.
like you'd made this decision that he shouldn't be in a facility, but then you're not here to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I understood some of that.
Yeah. That is a good point though.
I guess, I don't know, it was something about, like, I fully expected her to stop speaking to him, like, after Paul died. But at the same time, I knew basically that that's how it was going to stay. Like, you could just tell there was not going to be grace or forgiveness or mercy or anything coming from her end ever again.
Yeah. It hadn't been there before. So
Right.
it wasn't like that wasn't an opportunity for her to when there's stuff like that, like trauma and grief that happens, you expect like, oh, this will be when everybody will embrace each other. And sometimes it happens initially, but then, you know, the mind starts to spiral into like, how can I blame things on someone else? Because that's the easiest way to take, you know, my hurt away is to put it on someone else. And maybe she felt like as him being the oldest son, the one that's in charge, that it was easy to like dump it on him. Like, I'm not going to put it on Grace because she's, you know, a woman in that time period. She has no responsibility over anything. And she's, you know, got her husband and she's got, you know, her fiance and that she's planning on getting married to. And I also want to keep us in the lifestyle and keep us in favor with the community. So let me just dump it on this kid.
Okay, yeah. I forgot. I had a question. I had a few questions. I feel like the conversation she was having was her saying she didn't want to marry him. Or maybe not didn't want to, but like, I don't know. I felt like she was saying that there was more to experience or
more life to live
Mm-hmm.
and have. I think that's just like to me, it felt like what women in a certain generation, you know, one or even just one generation removed from us, there was that obligation of like, okay, I'm not going to be able to support myself or any of the things without having some man there. And so even though I would like to go out and experience the world and read books and art and travel, I can't do all of those things because, you know, by 25, we considered an old maid. So
Right. You're a
I got to
spinster,
get,
basically.
yeah, I got to get somebody to lock me down right now while I have youth on my side. And like, even though I think she loves her fiance, but I just feel like that it was just that element of like, there's life that I could be living. And so I think she vicariously lives it through.
And I love their relationship.
Very much.
Their sibling
Mhm.
relationship is beautiful to me.
It's very realistic. I mean, as far as it could go, vampireness aside, it's very, I don't know, it's not, it's very complicated, yet you can see that love there above all else. There, yeah, I love the way that's portrayed between
Mm-hmm.
Louise and sister.
It's a little skip ahead, but like you said, the part when he comes back after he's turned and he
Yeah.
uses that excuse with the mother about his eyes, and that's when we were talking about the thing, the comment that Florence made, that he reads her mind. But with his sister, she's just like, fool, take them damn glasses off. Like, I don't, let's
Mm-hmm.
not with each other. You're just like, you can say whatever you want to mommy and daddy. Like, I'm not putting up with your shit.
Mm-hmm.
like, like you don't get in between siblings and what they have going on, because even if they're saying the most disrespectful stuff to each other, like 9 times out of 10, they're siblings. They have a relationship that you don't have that type of relationship with anybody else. Like that's the only person you have that type of relationship with. So one minute you hugging them and telling them you love them, and the next minute you fighting them like, why'd you touch my shit? And put your head to the wall. But then you go outside and somebody say something to them, and you're like, I know you're not talking to my sibling, like, like,
Exactly. Like no one's talking to them crazy but me.
but me. If anybody gonna beat you up, it's me.
Right.
So I love that, like you said, with Grace and Louis, like no matter what he got going on, she just like she still wants that connection with her brother, and she's like, I know mommy ain't the best, and we just gotta like she ain't changing. This who this woman is, and I know it's a hassle when you come around, but I still want you to come around. So
His mother. She's one of those like TV moms that you be like, why is it inappropriate to slap the shit out of your mother? Why? Why? Because that's what I want you to do right now.
like you gotta do one of those what's her name? What's that movie? And she smacks the one, and then she like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
like oh, like Loretta Devine.
Yep.
And she smacks her so quick, and she, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just smacked you in the face. Right. But you needed it though, because you were out of order.
Out of order. So I had to really rewind and then wrote down. So they really silently with money fought over who got to take Lily to the bedroom. I was like,
Yeah, that was insane.
And the thing is that at that time, Lestat can read Louis' mind.
Yep.
So he knows full well that he doesn't have sex with this woman.
mm-hmm.
So it was just, like Louis said, just to emasculate him, but it also intrigued him because he's like, that's the type of power that he wants to have. So again, it goes back to when you were talking about like, oh yeah, it is about the money. But we know that money is not just money. Money is about your stature, and it's about your power and your presence and the access that it allows you to have in life.
Especially back then as a black man in the South.
Mm-hmm.
Just all of it.
Because yeah, they were trying to nickel and dime him at that game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 15%. That's the thing that was. Oh, that meeting pissed me off. That meeting pissed me off because you're gonna offer 10%, and then when Louis was like 10%, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'll give you 15." The original dude who has no stake in it is like, "Oh, 15. Like, you only get 15. If you don't mind your goddamn business, like." But again, it goes like into white supremacy and like that power dynamic of like teaching other people that no, you can't give them too much because we're all supposed to just give them the bare minimum. If
Right.
anybody starts to step outside of them and give them more than that, now they'll start to ask for more. And we can't have that. So we gotta walk this back. Even though he does end up getting the 15, and in the long run he ends up getting it all or whatever. But yeah, that element, it was like, oh yeah, oh, and that's another thing that's a little different from the book also, that about how Lestat can transfix people. That
Yeah.
is like an element that's in the book, but it's something that he's honed.
Not him practicing seducing people.
Right.
Very
Yeah.
Lestat of him.
Very much.
Yeah.
Okay. So, talk about Emmys. When Louis was trying to get Lestat out of his head, and he went to church, and he tried to do his Catholic thing. That was Catholic, right?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with Lestat? Anybody want to tell me what the hell is wrong with Lestat? So you...
Wait, so you talking about the very end of episode 1? Okay.
So you punch somebody's
we
face off? That's what we do?
Okay, again, it goes into who Lestat is, and that he had been doing this romancing of Louis and getting rid of anything that would stand in his way in that time, giving him the influence that he desired, teaching him, showing him the little tricks, but not telling him how he does the tricks, controlling him, all of those elements, like taking Lily away when he knew that Lily was his outlet, the one place that he could go and talk, and that he could divulge his sexual attraction without having to fully do so. But he was able to keep up the charade that he comes to this brothel and he pays top dollar for this woman, but he's just talking to her the whole time. So it's just that whole like full on like, oh, I'm gonna seduce you with the whole thing, but I'm just gonna I'm getting fed up. Yeah. And so that was him essentially getting fed up because that's what I'm gonna ask you guys. Do you think that Paul committing suicide was something Lestat had something to do with?
Oh,
So it was a question that I wrote down because we know Lestat got in Paul's head bad at dinner time.
Yeah.
And Paul
he did
clearly
put him in a really bad headspace. But I don't know. I mean, but I also can't say that wouldn't have happened at any other point. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that was almost inevitable. Now did Lestat speed it up? Maybe. But I don't know. I feel like that was going to happen regardless at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe not in that manner, but somehow he was always just a hair away from doing something outlandish.
Yeah.
From a writing standpoint, I just think it's very interesting. They made sure Paul was open about Lestat being in his head. Never once did they even try to hint at what he said. That's not for no reason.
Ambiguity.
Yeah.
It's like you said, Kalila, is like, okay, did he influence it? Could he have, just the fact that he had gotten to his head that time at the dinner, was that enough to push Paul?
Thinking that too.
Did he actually suggest things to Paul? Was the fact after that night of the wedding, when he had that little bit of clarity and got to go on the dance floor and have fun with his brother, was he already thinking that this was going to be the last time that he was going to have fun with his brother? Like, let me have this last moment of clarity and happiness before I do this. So it just puts all of those questions into your head. And so if it's doing it for us, then it's absolutely doing it for Louis.
Yeah, that question. I thought about it a lot, and I'm very frustrated with Lestat right now. He's such a prima donna.
That's why I even though it still works in this story with them changing the fact that in the book, he's poor, he doesn't have money, and he's depending on Louis. So there's that element of, is he behaving this way because he's a brat and he just wants his way? Is he here with Louis only because Louis has the means to give him the lifestyle that he wants? But when they flip it for the show, it still is not lost that he wants Louis for something deeper than what he's willing to reveal.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he's the one with the money and he's the one with the influence, he still has, you still see that undertone of like something about him is needy, but he doesn't want to reveal it because it's going to be, he doesn't want that vulnerability to come out for himself. But yeah, that the little bite scene, the little drink rather is what they call it. I was like, okay. So we're going there on this show and I love it. I was like, yes. Because again, like the way Louis describes it, that is an intimacy. So even though we don't see any sex, okay, so that's another little spoiler to the book that's obviously going to be changed for the series, is that in the books, the sexual organs don't work. So the blood, okay, so the way it's described, like in the books, the blood and whatever that, you know, when you become a vampire, all of that is like kind of gone. Like they have their own blood that's happening there, but it doesn't, there's no drive. Their hunger is purely about, you know, the sustenance. It's not about anything else really. So it kind of shuts off the drive for sexual desire. Blood, when they drink blood from humans, it does warm their body, so they do get cold. It does warm their body and fills them. So there are opportunities in the books where after drinking human blood, certain things may be a little more capable during that time. So yeah, that's I'm just gonna go with that.
No, that's a perfect way to explain it, though.
Like things, yeah. So, but I love that this first time that it's not about sex, that it's about this intimacy and
soulmatism.
Yeah, and Louis giving himself to Lestat after that long flirtation with each other. It's finally like, let's just put it all cards out on the table. Like, we've been doing this little flirty thing with each other for months. Like, what are we? What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And the fact that Lestat kind of has to like trick him into it by having Lily there. Like, okay, let's bring Lily here so we keep the guys that you've been having. Most people will just think like, oh, we up here running train on this chick, and I'm gonna whisper to her, give her the best orgasm of her life, put her to sleep, and now we can do our thing. I was like, okay, all right. Louis, Lestat's winning some points here. Like, I
thought that was quite hilarious when he
winning
put her
some
to
points
sleep.
here.
I said, no, he did. I know he didn't. Yep, she sleep.
Who sleeps? Me?
No, Lily.
Oh, sorry, I'm triggered. So sorry.
We are not talking about you, Grandma.
I'm so sorry. I promise I'm wide awake.
Jokes, guys.
More to come.
That's another little hint that we got immediately in the first episode, that Lestat can levitate and possibly more.
So that was... Imagine that's how you find out he could fly.
That's what I was like. All of the supernatural gifts in this so far have been sped up. Because obviously in a book series, you got plenty of time to be like, oh, this book, so-and-so figures this out about themselves. In this book, they figure, like, we ain't got time for all that, okay? Like, we got to get to the meat and the potatoes right now. Like, figure it out, and, like, let's get to it.
Right.
So
I do appreciate, I'm not going to lie, I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
As much as I do love a slow build-up, you know, they got right to it, and it was extremely gratifying and satisfying to watch this first season this way.
So yeah, that is a little difference in that is another little thing. There's a difference in the books that Louis can also read minds. In the books, he can't really. Like, it's something that you hone. And yeah, so it's not there for him yet. but they do keep the thing about fledglings can't be read by whoever turned them.
Okay.
So that's still there. I was like, oh, okay, cool. They didn't pull too much and stuff away from it.
You gotta stay somewhat true to the source material.
Right.
And I think too with with Anne Rice, and before she had passed away, she was working on this, and now that Christopher kind of took over the helm with it also, because again, I started saying that before, that she wasn't really, after what happened with other works that she had that were adapted, she was not too happy about them. So she didn't really want to give anything out anymore. So when this series got announced, I was like, she's finally doing it. Like, please. Because I enjoyed, if anybody watched back in the day, Feast of All Saints, that was hers also. Exit to Eden, even though they made it into like a comedy, that was one of her erotic novels, but they made it like into a comedy. So yeah, it was things like that. Like that she was just like, oh, like, oh, this is what you gonna do with my work after I've been writing 30 plus books? This is what you gonna do? Oh,
She's
I'm not
like, you're not about to
the rights to
disrespect
anything to
me.
anybody unless I'm here. Yeah, especially I feel like she was very territorial when it comes to Lestat, because he's based on her husband who had already passed. So she was like, nope, y'all not gonna play in my husband's face. Y'all gonna play in my husband's face. So okay.
I wonder if she likes. Sorry.
Oh, so okay. So
I was just wondering if she liked Stuart Townsend as Lestat.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't think she would. Didn't think she would.
Was not keen. She wasn't happy about Aaliyah being cast either. So
interesting.
I guess there was some evolution, and some growth there, because
right,
she doesn't really write any Black people as vampires.
Oh no, not a Stephanie Meyer situation.
Yeah. So even if they were from a time when people would have had some color, she doesn't really lean into that. She's had characters who are Egyptian, like Akasha was, her husband. She had a separate book with Pandora. She's had other ones that are of some okay, so what she does is kind of like, especially the older vampires, like the longer you live, you start to, or exist as a vampire, you start to lose pigment over time.
Man.
So they get to where their skin is kind of alabaster, marble tone to it. So it's a reason why vampires have to hide themselves, because someone sees them in direct lighting, you would immediately be able to tell, like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah. Okay.
Dang, forget about the movement and all that, but yeah, she doesn't really. Yeah, that's not a thing. But I was glad that Jacob and other characters are coming into it, and they're Black and people of color that are coming into it. So it's like, okay, it showed like an evolution in her, maybe an influence of Christopher and modern times, and it was just like, no, we need to slide things over someplace. So I hope that's what
where the story is based. Like, yeah, you have to add more color to that. That's insane. It just wouldn't even make sense to not have Black people.
Yeah. But you know what? It makes me think, because she is from there, but it just makes me think about like situations like with Friends, like even anybody here knows I live in New York City. So I'm like, okay, when you live in New York, there's still, even though it's a melting pot and there's all these people here and all these colors and languages and all of that, and dialects and history and culture here, it still is homogenized in the community groupings. So it's not unheard of to go into the city and there's a group of only all white people hanging out together, or only all Black people, or only all Latinos hanging out. That's not uncommon for that to happen. But
yeah,
For me, it's like the background, like the surroundings. Like even if your group is all whatever, the people who are walking down the street are not all whatever. It's so that's the thing that just drives me crazy about films and movies. And it's like, okay, like Walking Dead drives me crazy with that too. How we start the fall in Atlanta and where's the Black Walkers? Atlanta is a black mecca. Like, where are the Black Walkers? Like,
Yeah.
where are they? You know, a lot of times in that show, we only got Black Walkers when it was to kind of
Yeah.
traumatize a Black character. There would be a Black Walker in the scene. But just in general, barely. And it's like, this is Atlanta. Like, where the Black people that got turned? Like, you know. So I'm glad that yes, we're making strides where they're starting to say like, okay, even if we're not the main group and stuff, like we're in the background, we're in the restaurant, we're at the movie theater, we're the extras walking behind the scenes or something. Like, yes, like we may not be in the friend group, but we exist. So
yeah,
we're at least getting that with this, you know, with this whole switch around. So I hope that that's what Anne had, you know, some realization then and was able to say, hey, let's switch this up. So, like, all right.
Did Lestat kill Lily? Is it Lestat's fault that Paul jumped off the house? Called him a fucking psychopath because he punched somebody's face off. But yes, because his mother turned around and pissed me off again in episode 2, because why wouldn't she? Like, why are you causing he came to see the fucking babies. Why are you causing a scene? Why are you trying to piss him off? And like, just everything about it just really made me angry because you're being a fucking bitch. The husband needs to mind his business. And it's like, I just felt so bad with the whole situation. He ends up like snapping and like kicking the doors off. But and then that's of course when his sister is paying attention to what's going on. I'm just like, did Lestat hypnotize everybody and have they all lost their fucking minds?
Again, like I give, like, yeah, all right. So like that is like the same in the book, that when the brother dies, commits suicide, that the family blames Louis. So that's the same as in the book, and that's kind of like what drives him towards wanting to not be alive anymore himself. And they changed that in this slightly, so they add the religious element into it, that him going back to the church and begging for absolution there, because everything's crashing down on him right then, and he knows that Lestat is a part of the reason that all of this is crashing. I kind of like give them a little grace about their feelings about Lestat and their feelings about how Louis has changed. Like, we all had a family member or a friend or a coworker or whatever that when they start dating someone, they start changing. And you're like, oh, I don't like that person around you. Like, that person, nope. I don't like their influence on you. They bring out the worst in you. Again, it makes me think about the ones who live, when Michonne tells Rick about, like, I don't like who you are when you're around the CRM. And it's like, yeah, like, there's always like some influence that can come in a person who has a leader type quality about them, but someone can come in and persuade them into things that they shouldn't be doing. And so I think like the mother immediately picks up on that. Like, her homophobia plays a part in it also, but she still sees like, I don't like you being around this dude. And then I think it's also a fear too that he's going to take them away from them, and she needs that to survive, because now the daughter is married. She's married. She has a husband to take care of her. What am I going to have? My husband is gone. And if my son goes off with this man, what am I going to be left with? And I think a lot of times with people, you say to them like, "Oh, you should be saying to yourself like, maybe I should be nicer to
Right.
this person that I need." But that's usually not what they do. They usually become nasty and hostile to the person that they need the most. And you're like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, if there's any moment that you should be kissing ass, is right
Did his
now.
sisters
like
did his
grit your
sister's husband
teeth
have
if you
money?
need
Because
to.
that was something that confused me too. Like the family needed him to continue doing what he was doing to survive, but then all of a sudden they didn't need him.
I think he had money, but not the type of money that they had. And that also, this Grace makes a comment about how he doesn't have like the smarts or the know-how, like business wise, the way that Louis has. So there's that part of it. And then for him, like you were saying about, because I forgot what the fiance's name is, but for him, I understand too. Like, imagine marrying into this family. Like, oh, she's beautiful. I love her. I want to be with her. Like, I want to get married. Like,
Right.
oh, her mother's she a little off. The younger brother's completely off. And then the other one running brothels. And you're like, is this what I'm marrying is? Like, now the one brother goes and kills himself right after, the day after your wedding. The day, and not even the day after.
Oh,
the
yeah.
night hasn't even, the dawn is here, and he's walking off the roof. Now the family's in grieving. The weird dude that's been trying to talk to your brother-in-law, he shows up at the funeral procession. Like, this is chaos. Anybody else would have been like, you know what? I need to get the hell away from this family. Or they would have took their wife and said, well, you need to get the hell away from this family because I'm not dealing with this. So, again, I gave them a little more grace in some situations because I would have been like, I got to go. We ain't going to make it. Because there's other women in Louisiana that need to be married. And they ain't got all of this coming with them.
Yesterday brothers ain't kicking
Like,
doors off the hinges.
No. So yeah, I gave them a little bit of like, okay, I can get it.
I just wanted somebody one good time to tell his mother to shut the fuck up. Just one good time. Ma'am, please, respectfully, shut the fuck up. Go to hell.
Go to hell.
And shut up while you going to hell. Yep.
Okay, so then we going through the whole grief. She says that nasty ass stuff to him, like jumping everything onto Louis, causes him to spiral more in his despair. All the things that already been weighing on him lead him to the church, and then the poor man in there trying to pray, and here comes Lestat. He's like, I don't give a shit about none of that shit you was doing in that pew. I mean, in the confessional. Like, why is it, and why is everything on fire? What were you doing while I was in there? What is your problem? But again, it's perfectly to go with the Brat Prince. Like, he wants what he wants. I done played the cat and mouse game with you long enough, and I'm done. Is you mine or not? Like, let's go. Like, I'm letting you see the full bag of tricks right now. Like, so yeah, I'm a vampire. I've been drinking your blood a little bit at a time. That's how I can do all of these things. I'm also vicious and unrelenting killer. And watch me kill all these clergy. I'm going to punch this man's face. Okay, what is it called again? That team that does the special effects team. Oh, I love it. I love the way they put the spin on how vampires move versus humans. It's not that they do the speedy thing also, but I love like that it shows that for humans it's slowed down. We usually don't get it from that perspective. Usually we get the speed to the human and the human being like, oh my God. But we don't get it from the other direction of the vampire seeing us as slow. Like, if you're trying to run for me, look how slow they are. I'm going to be over there to you in a second.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. And then bringing the horror element. So I know a lot of people were saying on the first episode when they try to watch the original time, they were like, oh my God, when he punched that man's face.
Yeah.
But y'all know I'm a horror girl. So I was like, yes.
I'm pretty
Give me all of that. Like, yes.
I'm pretty sure I was like,
like, okay. It made me think about an old movie that is still one of my old favorite horror movies that has like an element of comedy in it. Demon Knight.
I didn't notice that movie.
When Billy Zane's character is like, he's fed up with the stuff and he punches the cop right through the head. And then they're all screaming and throwing up. And the head gets stuck on his fist and he tries to shake it off. Like, I love it. Promise y'all, I have been to see the lady. I will go to see the lady again, but I still love it. I still love it.
I constantly tell people watching a little girl get her face blown off on The Walking Dead made me be like, yes! I knew that would make a show for me. This is it.
This is a show for me. Yes. Where have you been all my life?
Did you see the little girl get shot in the face? Did y'all see the little girl? She got shot in the face. You know, back then, evil or not, they wasn't trying to kill, shoot kids in the face. You know. Like, oh, it's a little zombie kid. You gotta let it live because it's a child. No.
No. That's one of the things, like, in the remake of Dawn of the Dead, that they don't kill the little girl. I think they locked her in the room when the movie first starts, and then they dip out. She climbs out the window. Yeah, she climbs out the window just before her fiance could get her. But yeah, it's like, oh, we can't kill the kid, even if it's a walker. Yes, we can. You're not going to get my ankles. Like, you're not biting me in the hip. Like, get out of here.
They gotta go immediately.
Like, gotta go. Especially, little kids are fast. Imagine little fast walker kids. Oh,
hell no.
You got to go. If energy transfers over into you being a walker, no, you don't need to be here.
A kid, too fast, variant too walker, agile. I'm done.
And you know what? And I was like, that kind of feeds into Interview with a Vampire, but that'll be on future episodes. We'll get to that. So we'll remember to bring that back up there.
Okay, so I wrote down 3 sentences for the beginning of episode 2. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to talk about the seduction. The seduction of it in that scene. Church is on fire, in shambles. The priests are dead. And now you're whispering to me and all of that falls away. And I'm just like, here? I'm like, yeah, you was far gone, Louis. You were far gone. And I support it.
I mean, I was like, okay, I guess since he literally was talking about not wanting to be on this planet anymore, maybe he was like, whatever. Is this what we doing? Okay.
Yeah. That's what I think, like, as we go further, we'll get more into, like, Louis' reasoning for, like, giving in to that moment, besides, like, the ones that are kind of obvious there. But, so now into episode 2, which is titled, After the Phantoms of Your Former Self. Oh, and everybody who's still here with us, thank you for rocking with us, because these episodes and me full-on fangirling out on the damn book. Thank you for sticking with us, and like, subscribe, comment, share it with other people, because I think we're given probably a different dynamic, different perspective on this type of work than what other people are given.
And if you feel like you forgot something important in episode 1, please let us know. Sorry. Episode 1 or 2 that we're about to talk about, definitely let us know so that we can address it when we do episodes 3 and 4. Or if maybe there was a question about a scene or a character that we didn't answer, you can ask in the comments and we will definitely get back to you. Episode 2. I want food. I want sex. I want to go home.
Like, there's some other things in there, Lestat. Like, all right, come on now, Lestat. I had to, like, sit in that moment and say, what do I want right now? Because is it one of those 3? It's like I'm already home, so it's not that one. So
Right.
Other two, I could do.
I'm like, it's very unfair to choose those three things because, like, any given point in the day, we're all thinking about food.
Mm-hmm.
Many points
Yeah.
of the day, many of us are thinking about sex. And because we spend so much time at
Mm-hmm.
work, many parts of the day, most of us are thinking about, I want to go home.
To go home. Yeah. You could be on vacation
Yep.
and you could be like, I can't wait till I get home. It's just like it's just always gonna be there. But it's so funny for Lestat to say, "Oh, that's the baser things that humans always want." Why you trying to pretend vampires don't want food?
Right.
Also, your food's just different. That's what your drive is. A lot of the times, also, you have other feelings. That's the one that's overwhelming for you. So you're the same as us, sir. Ugh.
Yes. I'm so mad I
So,
didn't write down that sentence, the I want to go home guy he used as an example. Like, that's not even what he was thinking about, but his thoughts came all the way back around to, I want to go home.
oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And he's like, nope, hold out. There's more to the statement.
mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the I want to go home thing came back also. I was like, okay. Oh, we just skipped so very beginning of the episode because we go back to Daniel having the interview or setting up for the interview, thinking he's setting up for the interview any damn way, and then Rashad comes in to tell him like, oh no, you're about to have a 8-course meal, and he's like, the hell is you talking about? Like, I want to get to the damn interview, and like, why I gotta sit through all these courses and stuff? So I like that it shows the decadence that's there, the extravagance, and yeah, the elegance that Daniel's like, I don't have time for this shit. Like, let's just get to the damn story, like why I'm here, so I can get the hell up out of here. Because the longer I'm around you, the longer I'm around his ass, like the longer I'm in danger because I already learned that before, and so I want to get the hell out of here as quickly as possible. Like, let me get this last little story and get the hell on out of here. But also for any of the book readers and anyone who knows the fandom for Interview with a Vampire or the Immortal Universe, there's a little Easter egg that starts right at the beginning for us, and the mention of Marius de Romulus, yeah. So I won't spoil that because if it'll happen there, but that's a little Easter egg right there for us vampire nerds. And the artwork also is a little piece of little Easter egg nerddom there also.
I don't know if it's an Easter egg, just as maybe, me just recognizing similarities, but Lestat always having a bitch fit over music or something to do with music is just very much on brand for Lestat. And I love that part of it.
Yeah. I think because in this they had to swap it around to give it something else for him to be obsessed with, even though they still put those other elements into it in other episodes. But so in the books is a bit different. So immediately when Louis gets turned, he's immediately, I was under Lestat's spell the whole time, and Lestat really doesn't have the things to offer me that I thought he was going to have offered to be able to offer to me. The tutelage isn't there. All of the spellbinding kind of falls away from from Louis in the books. Because now they're the same. And so now it's that process of him again wanting to know more and needing to know more, and Lestat keeping things from him still. So in the books, there's again, they had to of course change it for the show because it wouldn't have lined up. So in the books, he likes to go out and hunt certain types of people each night. Usually there's a robust type of man who's in charge of life and all of those things. He likes to snuff that life out. That's not who he starts with. He usually starts with a woman, and then he works his way to that one, and that's like his dessert on top. And so he does that. He kills this man who had gone off to do a duel the man survives the duel, but Lestat is like, oh, that just makes it more delicious. I just have to eat him. And Louis trying to stop him because, again, even though he's turned, and what we see in this, that in the series also, is that Lestat kind of assumed that Louis would have been like him, that his humanity would have turned off more. And he's surprised that it hasn't. But he's like, oh, it's just going to take time, and I'll just, whatever my actions are, they're going to be just so jarring that it's going to knock it out of you. So he's kind of like doing these things in front of Louis on purpose to set things off. So him killing that man means that his family is all sisters. So Louis, in the part of him that still has some humanity, goes to the sister secretly, whispers to her in the shadows, and tells her to take control of the family business, which is slavery. So she takes over, she listens, she takes his advice, and she listens to him, and the family still thrives in the slavery. So obviously that was something they were going to change for this. So we still get the same elements of Lestat and his rage and, his impetuous acts when it comes to killing. And we get Louis being upset by them, but also still, I like the fact that there's still a bit of romance for him there with Lestat versus the books. That he doesn't immediately say, oh, this dude don't know nothing he's been talking about this whole time. I like that he's still under this little trance, this little romance with him. Even if it's mostly just about the way he's getting to see the world now. Yeah, they're out. He's teaching him how to hunt. And which is hilarious for Lestat to be saying to him, oh, we can't kill these certain types of people. We have to kill these type of people that it can be undercover about. That's not you at all. But I think here he does it because he knows that Louis is not ready to leave his home yet. And so he wants to allow him to stay in this environment until he can fully get him to turn to, like, you're a vampire, you're a killer, this is what you are now type of.
I don't know why he just expected him to just, like, jump right into the deep end of the pool and be like, oh yeah, I'm this crazed, murderous, vicious killer. Let's do this. Like, that's not something that, no matter what you do to it, it's not something a person's going to just jump to overnight if that's not already how they were. Like, yeah, he was like...
Especially like you said, like you had, what is it? How long is it? 2 centuries to do this. You had time to get into this, and he hasn't had it. Again, I'm hoping that in season 2 we get a bit of Lestat's backstory. I'm wondering also with the series if they're going to go into, if they're going to just continue having it called Interview with a Vampire, but we'll get book 2 that's the Vampire Lestat, which is Lestat's history and where he's at, and it does do both. It has his past story and it has his, at that time it was future story. It was the 80s and 90s. Yeah, it was written in the early 80s, so then it was like the future.
Yeah.
So we'll get, I hope we'll get a bit of that. So I'm just wondering if they're going to rename and do a whole separate show, or if it'll still be under the bubble of Interview with the Vampire, but we'll just get the book of
Right, because then, like, I don't want Louis to disappear. I'm wondering if maybe they'll figure out a way to incorporate different times within the same episodes, kind of, without confusing everybody too much.
Yeah. Definitely. We're definitely going to get that because we're going to the Theater of Vampires. So, yeah. There's some backstory that's definitely in that part that we'll get there. But I just wonder if we're going to go even further back.
Yeah, I feel like we could get part of the Queen of the Dam story to just, like...
it legit leads. All right, so the vampire Lestat leads right into the
Okay.
Queen of the Dam story. It leads right into it. Yeah. So it would set us up for that, which would then set us up for the body thief, which would set us up for the vampire Armand. It would just keep rolling. It would just keep rolling.
I was actually wondering, like, oh, are we gonna see because as you know, later on we'll have a reason why they might want to retell the history of vampires. So I was wondering, like, oh wait, are we about to like jump into Queen of the Dam? But I'm like, okay, no, not yet, because I figured, that might be how they're able to kind of weave the stories together without like essentially making certain characters disappear that don't exist later on. But yeah, I was like, Lestat, do we know how old he is actually?
He was born in, I believe. I don't remember. I
Because
gotta
I'm
look
like,
at that again. So yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know what they're doing for this, but in the books, he was in I believe it was the 1700s. I'll look again, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct that on the next video.
I mean, long enough for him to at least have heard of, like the original vampires. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That part of the lore is kind of lost. Huh?
I was like, okay, that's what I was like. I think that might be a little spoilery.
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
it might be a little spoilery about Lestat's what Lestat's knowledge is. So I'll just say that about what Lestat's knowledge is up to this point. But they will come to have more knowledge of things. So if we get a little, I don't know if we're gonna get that in season 2. But if there's again for the Antichrist nerds out there, if we get like a little mention of those who must be kept, I'm gonna freak out. Like I'm going to freak out. But I really don't think we'll get that in season 2. I think we'll get that in season 3. Or we'll get it at the end of season 2, lead into the season 3. Somewhere in there. We'll get like a mention of just those who must be kept, but people won't know what it is unless you read the books.
This is gonna be fun.
So
trying to navigate not spoiling something that people know the story to, but not necessarily like.
Yeah. Like, how do I? Because yeah, like you said, it's trying to do that balance of like anybody who's read the books knows exactly what I'm talking about, but people who don't want to get spoiled on the books won't know what I'm talking about until they actually read the book, and then they'll be like, "Oh, that's what Joy was talking about." And then the same thing with the episodes for the show, like they'll watch the episodes and be like, "Oh, that's what they were talking about," or "I missed that part," or "That's what that was about."
Oh, forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
You have to intro all the interview episodes.
I got.
You started off in French, and I was like, well, I hope she realized that now she has to do it every time.
Exactly. There's no beating that.
Lord, all of the people who speak French, they gonna be like, she is butchering our language. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm terrible at fucking accents. Hey guys, we're back. Sorry for the interruption. We just needed to take a little break yesterday. So we're back to finish up the rest of episode 2. After the phantoms of our former self. Now we're back to finish up talking about that episode.
So yes, I will reiterate. I want food. I want sex. I want to go home.
It's like, okay. It's like all the other things. Like, yay. I would love those other things, but I guess maybe it does really just boil down to those things.
Many, many, many things boil down to just those 3 things. Mm-hmm. So this was the episode, and I guess it was really just the transformation into a vampire, but this was the episode where Louis was really starting to stand up for himself with Lestat. And I was like, yes, please, because I can't, like, Louis the doormat is not working for me.
Yeah, because he's like, it's a weird relationship because he's the student with the teacher. Obviously, there's an age gap.
Mm-hmm.
A huge one, even though it doesn't look like it. So that's going to present problems also. We also already talked about how Lestat is manipulative. And like you said, now that kind of veil is off, that he can still be enchanted by Lestat because he's romanticized him in his mind a lot. But now that veil is starting to fall where he's starting to see like, we're not the same type.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the same. And am I letting him? And that's the thing too about relationships that are not equal, that you come into as not being equals, or one person's trying to make sure that you don't become equal with them. Is that one person is always racing to get the approval of the other one. And when they don't, they're wondering, is it because they're insufficient? And that's what Louis is in that space now. Like, so he has there's the two things paralleling themselves. Him doing that with his relationship with Lestat, but also him learning to assert himself out in the world and use his very skills to get what he needs now.
I feel like, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like, the way the episodes flow, I feel like so many things happened and almost nothing happened all at the same time. So sometimes it's hard to pinpoint, like, oh yeah, I want to talk about this or I want to talk about that. A lot of times it's just kind of
the way they like
a lot of times
will look at each other,
right,
or the way they're just walking with each other. And especially with this one, because like the beginning, you have a lot of Louis realizing what the world looks like through his vampiric eyes. So there's a lot of that you're getting to see now, and kind of the delight of Lestat realizing those things.
right.
So it's a lot of, like you said, it's those little zoom in moments when he's fascinated with certain things. He's looking at certain things. He's just staring at things. And Lestat is like, yeah, that's cute and all. Like, oh, look at you and stuff. But also, we have stuff to do. Like, we have to go. I got to teach you how to hunt. There's things to be learned. The few things that I'm willing to teach you anyway. But there's things to be learned, and like, let's go figure this out. So they get like to the bar because Louis needs to have his first feed.
Okay. So yeah, this episode was lessons. Kind of. The episode was just full of lessons. Either learn through that direct teaching or learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So the 100 possible vampires being on the planet, how true do you think that was? I thought that was like a little bit of an interesting tidbit of information.
Okay, so I'm trying to think if this is like a little spoiler type of thing from the books. Okay, so I'll just say that giving the gift, the dark gift, is something that has a selective process for most. And I think that's because, like, what we're seeing here with Louis is that you have to be a teacher. Like, you have to do all of these things because of what it could bring, the knowledge of vampires could bring on other vampires. Because we see, like in this episode, with them having to sleep in the coffin, like there's a lot of things that Anne Rice made so that it's not like, okay, those things don't exist, like the cross, the garlic, all those like that's nonsense. But it was like the sunlight and the necessity for coffins or to be someplace completely hidden from the sun when it comes up. So you have that, and so it's like when they go into the coffin, it's kind of like they go into a catatonic state for the most part. So it's kind of like that's one of the reasons why vampires are like, look, you have to really train, you really have to teach, you have to
Mm-hmm.
learn from someone about the things that need to be done. And then if vampires are all super old, who got the patience for that? Nobody has the patience to be doing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we get the glimpse of, I like in this that there's the immediate thing when they're at the opera where Louis and Lestat are there together, and Lestat reveals to him in that moment when he's upset, and he reveals to him about his loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
So another way to manipulate him to draw him back in, to keep him in, but also reveal something about Lestat and that he is lonely, and that's why he created this person. And then that raises the question also that will probably be answered in season 2 as to if there are other vampires and you said you're lonely, why aren't you with the other vampires? So yeah. Why aren't
So
you?
much to dig into.
Yeah.
I love their fights. I think they're comical and entertaining and flamboyant, and I love it. I can't remember what they were fighting about.
Okay, because remember he's teaching him how to kill, and remember they go to that bar the first night, and Louis wants to kill that guy, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, no, we can't kill him because he's, a higher ranking military officer. We have to be more discreet about who we kill and how we kill them and where, because we have to then dispose of the body and do all of that. So they picked the man who was in town because he can go missing easily. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's how Louis gets his first kill. Then the thing that they're arguing about is because remember Lestat helps him get the full control of the whorehouse, whatever the hell they call it in this,
Oh, right.
house of ill repute, whatever. The guy that was helping, like the land, something, the developer comes to have the conversation, and he's being racist to Louis. And
Oh, yeah.
so he's like,
Yes.
why do again, Lestat, you started this because you told him at the poker game before, it's like, why do you deal with these indigencies?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you allow people to speak to you this way? Why do you blah blah blah? You told him all of these things were going to be things that once he became a vampire, he wouldn't have to deal with anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
as he's talking to the man and he's like, fire escapes and oh, boy, and oh, you're a smart one and all this other shit to him and stuff. And he, like you said, that he immediately fell right into that, yes, sir. Yes, a boy.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, tilt my head, take the compliment, and going about my business with it. But then he has that moment where he realizes, like, I don't have to put up with this shit no more.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, you decided to really play yourself tonight. You tried it on the wrong night with the wrong person, and you're about to find out. So then he kills him, and then Lestat is mad because he's like this man is someone who people are gonna look for, and you killed him, and now this is gonna, could bring an eye because you don't know if he told other people that he was coming here to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the whole story is and how we're supposed to do that, but they have like the incinerator in the back, so he's like, Louis like, what do we got the damn incinerator for? That's the whole point. So we get rid of the damn bodies here, so we don't have to go out to the damn swamps to do all of that like we had to before,
Mm-hmm.
or find burial grounds and throw bodies into that and just try to play it off, or like what Lestat was doing, leaving bodies down at the damn docks, drained. So that's what they're having the argument about, and again, it's funny because it's the complexity of Lestat is like how he's this brat and he's ridiculous and he's going off, and then he's like, well, you know what? if he was rude to you, I would have killed him also. Like, so, and Lestat and Louis like, I don't care, I'm mad at you because you got my nerves. Like, you didn't back my play, and you know, and I don't like that. You keep calling me fledgling. It sounded a lot like slave. I don't like it. And that's what just got the last person killed. What's your problem? And then Lestat is just like, I don't want to go to bed angry. Angry. Like, I don't want you to be mad at me. Like Louis said that when he's talking to Daniel, he was like, there's just this way about Lestat that would, anytime that he would piss me off, that would just draw me right back in.
Lestat in a relationship, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
He's, like you said, a brat and selfish and
It's like
the
when you
double
get more
standards.
story, you'll understand why he's the way he is to some degree. But also, he's still a pain in the ass, a full-on pain in the ass. And you just know that he's just so used to, like, being able to outsmart people and disarm people. But there are moments where he gets his comeuppance and things. So, but you know what? But then you know what that ends up doing to someone who's like that? They just get worse with the next people or next creatures or whatever things that they encounter, because now it's like, oh, I was bruised here, so now I'm going to be worse to other people after that. And that's what he does. Yeah. But then he doesn't realize that ostracizes him, and he ends up being lonely, and he doesn't like to be alone, but he doesn't want to fully admit that to anybody. Yeah, it's just, like you said, it's like when you watching a chaotic relationship happen, and you're like, oh, you people, you don't, Louis, you can do better. And Lestat, you need to go see the lady before you start trying to be in a relationship with anybody, because this is not
anybody.
But we obviously have to find like some vampire therapist from like whatever years before Lestat was born, so that they're stronger.
Oh, I remember why Lestat pissed me off in this episode. Okay. First of all, you're supposed to be teaching it. He's the worst teacher ever, first of all. The absolute worst. Okay. Then, you know, you just turned him. You're supposed to be teaching him. He ain't learning for shit. You just let him run off out into the world.
Oh, when he let him go out. When he went out into the sun?
No, remember he almost ate his damn niece?
Oh, I was like, yeah.
I'm like, what? Why would you let that man go see?
But again, it's like, I feel like there's this thing where he wants to take Louis away from here, but he also knows that Louis is still so attached to it. And I think, again, we still are on the fence about whether he has something to do with Paul finally going off that roof. We already know that he didn't have to worry about the mother, because Florence and Louis didn't have that type of relationship, so she's not a problem. The sister Grace is married to Levi. That's the husband's name, and then she has the kids and stuff. So now she's not really a problem anymore. He can really have himself. But Lily is a problem, because that's a person that he went to confide in. And he wants to have all of Louis' confidence. He doesn't want him to have anybody else to reach out to. So rip Louis, Lily, like, because as soon as they were like, yeah, like she was blessed, like the fever burnt up all her blood. The fever did not burn up all her blood. Like, that girl was
like, is that what we're going with?
Yeah, like that girl was just minding her business, and here you came, and
and then it wasn't no other better place to leave the baby than on the floor when he ran up out of that house.
Well, I was like, in my head, I was like, why would you put the baby on the floor? But then I was like, yeah, the baby will roll off the couch.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Any furniture in there, the kid would fall off of it because she brought the kid from probably the nursery to him. So it was like, yeah, just put the kid on the floor. So at least the kid is safe. Like the whole point was for me to leave the kid in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think too that I think that Lestat has told him that it's going to take him a while to get control over certain things. And Louis also learned some of that himself as time progresses, that as a newer vampire, there were things that he needed to learn, but not only learn, but he needed to adjust himself and learn about the control that would be necessary. I think he does pretty well because of the fact that he still has held on to his humanity.
Mm-hmm.
He was someone like Lestat from the jump. He'd be on a damn rampage.
Yeah.
But the fact that he still has a care for humanity, and that probably is also why Lestat wants to stay in New Orleans for this time period, because he knows that that's something that will help him stay under control. Because he still knows these people. If you take him to another city, he don't know nobody there. He's gonna go on a fucking rampage.
Right.
There's no reason for him not to kill people. Even though Lestat wants him to be more of a killer, but we all know, like in relationships, there's always a balance. There's always a yin and yang.
Yeah.
One person is the live wire, and the other person is the one who can calm them down.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that balance. So even though Lestat claims he wants him to be a full-on out killer, it's like you don't really actually want that, and we will find that out in episodes that will come. So
back to how many vampires on the planet. So him saying 100 vampires on the planet, like I feel like that's way too many, and I know that's just a very small number, but when you think about what they're capable of, 100 of them spread across the globe, possibly creating even more of themselves, is getting out of hand.
That's why I said
Getting out of hand.
I wouldn't give a full spoiler, but it was like, yeah, the giving the dark gift is not given lightly by most vampires. And yeah, there's also killing the way we see like Lestat killing. There are vampires who kill just the same way or more vicious, but then there are vampires who have gotten to a place where they don't have to kill like that. Also, there's a not just a discretion, there's a what's the word? Like they have like a way that they can control themselves. Like the thirst doesn't overtake them the same way. So that's something that we'll probably learn more about. And yeah, we should learn more about that in season 2. We should learn more about that in season 2. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There wasn't a whole lot that I wrote down because the episode, like, I don't know how to describe it. It really was just us learning through Louis learning whatever Lestat felt like teaching him in the moment.
Yeah.
And then I just
Louis Lestat, like you could kind of tell that there's reasons why Lestat is not teaching him certain things.
Right. Yeah. And then the double standard with him being all mad at Louis for killing the guy, but then you got an attitude with the tenor singer at the opera. So, like, what?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I mean, totally ruined. First of all, maybe because I don't like listen to opera or whatever, I didn't hear anything wrong with it.
Oh, it was terrible.
And he was acting. Huh?
It was terrible. It was like, when he just said no. It was like, I was like, oh my God.
Really? See, I don't know what they're supposed to sound like. I was just listening like, okay.
I think like
Lestat was getting so fucking mad.
I think like Lestat probably would have turned me into a vampire because he would have saw me balk in the audience like, oh my God. He would have been like, "Oh, see, this bitch knows what she's talking about right there. Like, she need to be here. She need to be with us." Because remember, he said that the fact that the audience they acted like they didn't hear it, and like they applauded and just went along with it pissed him off even more.
Right.
So yeah, I would have been like, when he tried to hit that note, oh, it was just like his tone. Like, first of all, his singing was already off, but then his entry into the song wasn't smooth. It didn't mingle with hers at the same time. And it was just like, yeah, I was like, oh my God, sir, you about to get killed. He's about to kill you because you can't sing. Like, at least whisper or something. Like, stop trying to hit these notes that you can't hit. And again, I was like the same as Lestat. It was like, how did he get here? How did he get here? Like, how did he get chosen? Is he an understudy? Let me look at my playbill, because this man has got to be an understudy.
I was watching that. I felt like I was looking at Michael Jackson as he watched the other people singing. Well, he was fucking mad.
So mad.
And even though he was that mad and he was acting ridiculous, I still was like, I know he ain't bring that man back to the apartment to kill him. I know that's not what he just did. After that speech he just gave, this man, I know this man ain't in his apartment right now.
So they redid that scene from and swapped it around, because in the movie, remember, that's when he brings back the two women to the apartment. So that is the way it happens in the book. It is the two women that get brought back to the apartment versus the singer. So they swapped it around for this. But again, you know what? Again, like, that's a scene in the original movie that Tom Cruise ate. He ate that scene. I was like, this is acting here. They got to put some respect on Tom's name. Like, I love that scene. Love that scene in the original movie. So this had a lot of, it had a lot that Sam had to bring, and he brought it, man. He brought it. And he was like, you know, kill them swift as you must, but do it because you're a killer. I was like, give this man an Emmy. Like, yes, yes, like, yes. But because he's still in his head, he's just like, he's trying to convince Louis to be the type of killer that he thought he was going to be, and Louis just not up to par with it, and he's just like, the enjoyment that Lestat takes out of killing him, and Louis sitting there listening to the man, his memories in his head of his life, and he's just like, Lestat loves that. He loves, like, watching the story of their life. That's why he killed the man in a slow way, so that he can watch this man's life, because then to him it's even better having gotten to kill the person, because he's like, ooh, like, I put an end to that type of thing. And Louis is like, I don't feel that at all. Like, it's giving me sorrow that I've cut this person's life. So that's why I kill them quick, so I don't have to do all of that. I don't want to go into who they are as a person and learn about them. It makes me think about, whenever I think about the way Lestat kills, it makes me think about big game sporters, hunters, and how they'll go out into a reserve or some land and then kill a majestic animal that has, like, children, a pack, a herd, a flock, whatever it is. They have a grouping, and you know that they are a part of that group, and that group depends on them. And for you to then just swoop in, watch them living life, and then you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna kill it for no reason other than just so you can have some trophy, and you could go around and tell people that you took down something that was monumental, so you could feel better about yourself. Is like, that's what Lestat does. At least that's what it me.
Yeah. I think that he did what I did. He watched Louis and he was like, oh, he a gangster.
When he pulled this
He don't got problem.
other.
He don't got problem hurting people,
Mm-hmm.
physical violence, this, and that. He thought he was gonna turn, out a certain way as a vampire, and it's like it didn't enhance that part of his personality, but like that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's why I said like that. It's a weird thing that Lestat wants him to be this full on killer, merciless like him, but also he really doesn't. He likes the part where it frustrates him, but he likes the part where he still has to seduce him. I think he thought that
Mm-hmm.
Chase was going to be gone once he turned him. So he still likes that. He still likes that there's still this chase there with him, but
Mm-hmm.
it still frustrates him when it comes to like killing. Like everything else, he enjoys it, but that part, he's just like, why you don't enjoy killing people the way I do? But again, in future episodes, and then we'll see what it's like when he's around someone who is a merciless killer the way he is, and how well that works for him.
Oh, I've seen Queen of the Damned.
Mm-hmm. um, yeah, and then it's like too with Louis saying that how he said he helped him drain the man at night, but like when I was saying earlier about how to him, he's like, I'm a deficient vampire. Like all vampires are like this. Like all the vampires that exist are this type of killer. They don't care. They do it. They enjoy it. They take sport in it. And I'm the one who's not right. And so that was like a sadness that Louis still in this space where he's like, I'm not a good vampire. Like, and I'm disappointing my teacher. I'm disappointing my mentor. I'm disappointing my lover. And I don't want to disappoint them. Because remember, he was already in a place where he felt like he was disappointing in everyone in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So for it to come right back again is just like, yeah, this is.
And then he thought it was gonna be all this lavish fun becoming a vampire, and then he just ended up losing even more things and people. And I think some of the respect for himself he lost too.
Yeah, then the conversation that he's having with Daniel, it shows like his evolution in that. So you can tell that in the time from when he met Lestat and whatever occurs with them until we get to the 1970s is when he met. Was it the 70s for this, or was it the 70s in the book? I'm trying to remember when he met. Like again, mixing the two together, but I think it's the 70s when he met Daniel, because he says it's like 49 years had passed, and they're in the year when the pandemic started. So somebody do the math, whatever the hell that is. So you just see like the evolution of Louis, and that obviously in that time he either had other teachers or things he went out into the world and he learned on his own, because we see Lestat is just not going to be the damn teacher for him, because he's able to control himself at this point, and the things he's acquired require patience and control. And it seems like he has that more now than he did, because obviously we saw in episode 1 when you see Daniel sitting on the couch, you see the mark on his neck, you hear when he the tapes that there was Louis had lost his patience with him. And then Daniel makes the little snide comment about the 7 courses. And he's like, how many courses is it in the damn first place? And he's like, so what is this? You fattening me up to get me ready for the inevitable kill? Like, I was like, all right, Daniel. Stop being dramatic now. That's what we haven't really talked about. Like, how do you feel about Daniel?
Love Daniel. I fucking love this cranky old man. Oh my goodness. He's fantastic. Because I don't want some fucking skittish little scared, oh my god, it's a vampire young, like I need a old man that's like, yeah, I know you can kill me. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. Like
He's like, I'm dying anyway, so I really
yeah.
don't give a shit. You already tried to kill me before. Like, other things have tried to kill me in all these years of journalism, probably also. Probably them two
Yep.
wives tried to kill him at some point in time also. He's like, I don't even care. Like, whatever. You want to kill me? Get in line.
Whatever, guy.
Like, whatever. But I did like that moment when he has, because remember, every time Louis tries to have a conversation with him about himself, he always deflects. Like, it's not about me. That's not what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
But he disarms him by giving him that dessert. Then he knows full well when the man had that dessert, because you read his memoir. So you know what the dessert came from. You know the moment. So it takes him to where he thinks about his wife, the first wife, and how much he must have really loved her, and that it went sour. So there's that connection that him and Louis have right there about the having that first love connection that goes sour. But they still look back on it fondly, and so when he brings up about how his wife's eyebrow was partially blonde or something, and she dyes it, but he liked it when she left it. So again, it's like to say to Louis that he understands about how he still loved Lestat. He still loves Lestat, even though Lestat was deeply flawed. And so he understands about seeing that and not wanting that person to hide that, but also at the same time kind of being frustrated with them about where the relationship goes from there. So I like that part with Daniel.
Yeah.
It was like he finally
yeah. I appreciated that moment. And I like that he got to have that fancy ass looking dessert again. Like that's right. Keep giving him expensive stuff.
Okay, so what do you think about Rashid?
I like Rashid. I think I don't like when I feel like he might be being a bit doormatty, but he like has a mind of his own. He has his own thoughts and feelings, and like he's very like there's nothing brainwashed about him. There's nothing like drony about him. So I like that part of him. I guess I don't fully understand him, but I like that he's standing on his shit. I appreciate that in anybody. Stand on your shit.
Yeah, I'm like you said, Rashid is complicated, and you're still waiting for more about him to be revealed. Obviously, I know who the hell Rashid is, and, but just try to keep it to this, and it's just like that he, like you said, that there are those moments where he looks at Louis with such like he just this revelry when he looks at him like this, like he's put him on this pedestal type of thing. And so it makes you think too, like what evolution has Louis had in that time for someone to look at him this way now,
Right.
and to be willing to do all these things for him. And he does not like Daniel. He does not.
No, he doesn't.
Like
he doesn't. I think it's hilarious.
Like Daniel, he's like, I don't know why he's here. Why are you telling this man your story? Like, what is going on here? But again, we will also learn why. that's an issue. Why that's an issue.
Right now to me it just seems like he wants Daniel to feel how he does about Louis, and
Yeah.
he's just pissed off that he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like he wants him to respect him more and speak to him a certain way. Like, and Daniel's like, yeah, fuck you. And you. And you.
Yeah, and you. Everybody else who keeps coming here bringing damn food and here rapping the table. And what's the other dude? Demick? You too. Get up. Stand up, sir. Stop letting this vampire drink your damn blood. You come in here and leaving out here woozy every day. He's like, all of this shit don't impress me. But you know what? That's kind of true. Like you said, the older you get, like there's certain comforts that you enjoy, but all the extra over the topness and all the lavish life and all that, unless you're a damn vampire, like you ain't taking it with you.
Right.
It's not going with you. So it's not like, what are you doing all this for? Like for a vampire, obviously it makes sense. Like you're gonna be alive for how the hell knows how long. But with a human, he's like, yeah, I don't care about none of this. Like, it doesn't do me nothing at this age. Because what the hell he got left now? You're like, whatever. But like you said, it's like with any relationship. Because you out with your husband, and if somebody's rude to you, of course, your husband will be like, who the fuck? Like, that's my wife. Like, you don't talk to her that type of way. Like, that shit is crazy. So it's that type of protective thing that Rashid has, where he's like, you're not going to talk to this man like this in front of me. Like, that's crazy. Like, no, I'm not going to allow that. But yeah, that's anybody that like is in your life that cares about you deeply like that is not going to sit there while somebody else disrespects you. Or what they feel is disrespect.
I'll snap on somebody. I am 5'3". My husband is 5'11" and a half. And I don't know, 200 and however many pounds. And I will be like, to whoever, male or female, I don't know who the hell's husband you thought you was talking to.
Exactly. You're like, no. And even if the person's just family or a really, devoted friend, is like, I know you're not talking to my friend like that. Like, like, who you talking to? Like, yeah, it's just fully that, where he's just like, I don't like the way he's talking to you. And, like you got the servants, the rest of the servants are here, are all in check. They following the rules. There's guidelines. They're full on in it. And so why are you letting this dude come here and talk to you any type of way when he's essentially a servant also? But we're gonna find out more about that. So that's coming. I
still haven't been able to put it into words properly. But there's just something about I don't know, maybe the direction of the episodes that they go by in a flash, first of all. A freaking flash. And then it's like you really just become wrapped up in whatever is going on the screen at the moment. You're supposed to be like taking notes or whatever, writing stuff for the blog, whatever, like relating to the episode. But all I'm actually doing is watching the episode, and that's it.
You like, oh wait, oh shit, I should have wrote that down. Like that's something
exactly.
I should go back to. Again, spellbind it, just like.
Yep.
Just like, yeah, it's like, ooh, okay, like, ooh, that sucked me in. Like, am I pro vampire? Am I against it? Is this something? I think, but ultimately, it's supposed to put like a question in all of our heads. Is like, would this be something we would be willing to do? And there's also something that Louis is trying to teach by putting his story out there. and it's like, are we grasping his story and what he's trying to teach us through his story? That's the thing that's ultimately going to come out of this. Like, are you grasping the lesson that he's trying to teach?
Very interested in seeing how far we go with like this series in particular. Have we rated any episodes? No, because we did them together.
Yeah.
I don't have any complaints. I like.
It was like, again, it was like them people at AMC, they doing stuff over there. They are cooking over there at AMC. Whoever they picking as their writers, the directors, cinematographers, the actors, the music.
And I thought it was going to be a little bit of different this time around because, you know, with The Ones Who Live, I think in episode 2, I was like, just prepare because we're going to rate every episode, but mine will be a 10 every time. So I don't even, y'all can ask me, y'all can not ask me, do what you want. It's going to be a 10 every time.
Every time. And you're like, okay, but it's different. The 10 is there for a different reason each time.
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing about it. Like the first episode of this, like you're gonna give it a 10 because it's just the introduction is so smooth.
It really is.
The storytelling is right there. You're immediately ready to go along on the journey. You're rooting for Louis and you're hoping for Lestat. Everyone else, you're still doing the same thing for them. Like, even if they're, well, not everybody, because some people who was at the poker table, they all go to hell. So they all go to hell. And I hope they do. I hope they did. Everybody else, you're like, oh, I hope that, even though you kind of know or you assume, like, with the time period also, like, life is not going to be kind to these people. Like, life is not going to be kind to these people. But you just hope, like, okay, I hope they've had some moments of joy and happiness in their life throughout everything that they go through. So, and then immediately, once you're all into it in that first episode, and then you're just shocked and awed by everything, and then that ending just took everything up a notch, where you're just like, oh, we punching people through the head. And then like, oh, okay. So yeah, we're going to still absolutely have the horror in this. And we're not going to, it's just not going to be the romantic vampire bite your neck and sensual thing. It's going to be also gory and disturbing for other people. For me, it's not. I'm like, yeah. Whereas other people are like, I couldn't take that scene. And I'm like, punch more people through the face.
Like I've threatened to punch people's faces off. He actually punched somebody's face off.
Exactly. So like you said, a 10. And then episode 2, again, is just a perfect story of Louis learning the initial steps of becoming a vampire and not being taught well. And how it is building a doubt in him about himself that he had already tried to, that he thought being a vampire was going to help him escape from. Lestat still finding some way to charm him and starting to finally reveal parts of himself also. And then also still it didn't shy away from the issues of the day. Like racism is still here. Bigotry is still here. Homophobia is still here. All of the things, like you said about Grace with her, like, I want to get married, but I don't know if I really want to get married this quick. It's like all of the things are all right there. They're not shying away from anything, but it's done in a way that it doesn't make you feel like, oh, this is trauma. Like I feel traumatized. Right. I feel triggered by it. Like you're watching it and you're like, yeah, that's exactly how it would be. And then you're just hoping that there's some way out of it for people, for at least the people that we get to see on screen. You're just hoping there's some way out of it for them. So yeah, again, you'll be like, all right, a 10.
Across the board.
Right. Yeah,
I don't know what to
kill
tell
that
y'all.
man and throw him in the throw him in.
And this is not me being biased this time. There's no Walking Dead people. Like, yes, as a reader, who doesn't appreciate Anne Rice? Know what I mean? But like, this is like I said, this is my cousin's jam. I was like, okay, let's do it, because I was the vampire like queen before The Walking Dead came along. It was like vampires and witches was my thing. So I'm not biased at all. This show is just fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Again, for me, it was like, everybody who knows me knows, like, Walking Dead was my jam. And again, from the moment the show got announced, I was like, I'm in. Like, a weekly zombie show? Like, this is unheard of. Like, usually I have to wait every 5-6 years before a zombie movie will come out. And then I'm, on pins and needles, whether it's going to be good or not, and whether it's back to the heyday. And so then with this coming along, it was just like, oh, y'all gonna take me right back to the 90s when I was reading these books. Like, and like my initial like obsession, I don't want to say full on obsession, but the first time like me like fall in love with like vampires was through Anne Rice's books. Before that, I was like, okay, vampires here, vampires there, like, okay. But with her books was when I was like, oh, I'm trying to really get into the lore. Like, I really want to know what's going on. Like, I'm trying to do, like, yeah. Like, would I get bitten? Would I not, like, how would I be if I was, like, yeah. That's when it pulled me all the way in. And I was like, okay. So since then, I've been a vampire girl. It's just like, so somebody brings something out and there's vampires in it, I'm watching it. I'm like, 30 Days a Night, I'm in there. Twilight, I don't care if they sparkle, I'm in here. Like, the Vampire Diaries, I'm in here. Like, like, give me the books. Give me the books. Just send the books. I'm reading them before the show starts or the movie comes out.
Team Toxicity, Damon.
Exactly. But you're like, hey, it's not like a human existence where there's a finite amount of time to work through your shit. When you're a vampire, you have lots of times as long as you don't do something to get yourself killed. But, or you were made just for some purpose to serve some other, vampire's whim. But if you are doing it right, like, you got a long time to be on some bullshit to decide to work through your shit. So,
absolutely.
Toxicity.
Team Toxicity. Yeah.
I was like, as a human, keep that shit over there. Let me have my 80, 90 years, hopefully, that I'm going to have. Let me have those without being in that, because I don't need it.
Look, wait, we missed a few. There was a vampire in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. There was Van Helsing. Blade.
Which I can't wait for also. I'm like, yes, Marshala. Bring it. I'm ready. They just started filming.
Absolutely.
And I will be there just like I was when Wesley was there. And I was like, I'm in this. So, yeah. Like, okay. Yeah, if there's a vampire, I'm usually there.
Me too.
There. But this is just, again, like the icing on the cake. It's just like, oh my God, a weekly show. The fangirl in me is just like exploding. Nobody's not into this like that. Like, they don't know what you're talking about. It's not giving them the little tickle in the belly the way it's doing for you. Like, they're not getting, like,
I mean, hey.
But then there are people who are. So it's like, hey, hi.
Might inspire some people to go out and get the books.
Yeah.
Well, we will hopefully be back with episode 3 sooner rather than later. Or are we going to do 3
Three
or
and
3
four.
and 4?
Yeah, 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm excited because we're just getting so close to season 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be so exciting. And I'm excited to, I don't know, jump into the fandom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's gonna be the fun part. Like other people who have been in it this hard also. So that's
See
gonna
what
be
kind of
exciting.
people we meet on that fandom.
So
um, but again, as usual, thank you everyone who has made it this far with us through outfit changes, and um, we appreciate you guys being here with us. I don't know if you can tell, but we're all exhausted. I am exhausted at 100%.
yeah.
It's been a very long week for all of us. So thank you for bearing with us. And the next thing I believe you'll be hearing from us is Parish.
Yeah. Parish.
Immediately followed by episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Hmm?
And then right after that, then we'll have episodes 3 and 4 for season 1 of Interviewing a Vampire. And then we're gonna start our recap of The Ones Who Live. So we're gonna go back and do those since we kind of started off with 6 with Kira from the Ones Who Live podcast, and so
Right.
now we're gonna backtrack and jump to 1. But that should be fun because we'll get to do it with perspective now. So
Yeah.
after having watched those episodes a trillion times already.
And we still don't have a start date, so we can't tell you when we'll start jumping into the Daryl Dixon season 1 recap, but we do know that's coming very soon as well, because we'll need 6 weeks before the premiere to go through those episodes, or 3 weeks, depending on how we do that one. And then so many more things coming down the pipeline, and we will be busy and exhausted for the rest of the year. And we look forward to seeing whoever we're going to see at camp next year. The time is actually hurtling towards Camp 2024. And I'll be probably zombified for a good 2 months after that.
Yep.
So, yeah, let's prepare for the time and exhaustion of our lives.
Yep. But also the fun and the excitement and meeting new people and connecting with new genres and new levels of nerddom that be like, hey guys, I've been here this whole time, you just didn't know I was a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm one of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to do that also. But yeah, so again, thank you everybody for tuning in with us, supporting us this whole time. On our page, our YouTube page, you'll see the links to everything because we're on. So if you watch this here on YouTube, but you prefer just a verbal version, we're on everywhere where you get your podcast. We can officially say that we're everywhere you get your podcast at now. Crazy.
And there's apparently a new feature on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, look at your phone. You can probably see us.
Okay.
Apparently, they have video podcasts now on Spotify. So,
okay.
We're being seen.
Nancy. So yeah, sorry for the. Oh yes, please. That's what I wanted to say too. Anybody who speaks French is from France, Haiti, any place else that French is spoken. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Like, I know the accent is terrible. Terrible. What? I'm going to work, but I am enjoying learning French. So there's that. And yeah, so we're gonna continue to keep bringing content to you guys. Also, check out Noir&Nerdy because we really haven't been writing as much right now because we kind of was like writing back to back to back for the ones who live, and we're gonna go back to like whatever we're not able. We're gonna give like still a full synopsis of everything when we break down over there, but it'll probably be a little more in depth there because it'll be organized and we'll be able to touch on all the little nuances there, and you'll be able to like, okay, let me pick this up and read a couple paragraphs. I can sit it down the same way we did with the ones who live. And yeah, so just make sure you go check us out over there also at noirnerdy.com.
And eventually there'll be show notes over there for you to kind of read like a synopsis of what we talked about during the episode. There'll be more and more things to come as we progress and advance and figure more stuff out. But yes, we are on all the socials. It's either going to be Noir and Nerdy or Noir_Nerdy, depending on where you are: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, YouTube. And then we're also individually on all the socials. I'm Connie Dixon for life everywhere. Joy, are you Joy from Brooklyn everywhere? Or joyful? Joyful?
I'm not everywhere. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Tumblr.
Oh, okay.
Because social media, I'm like, I can't be doing everything, but I am there. And then my candle company is on Instagram. So Key to Joy candles over there. So,
and that
somewhere in there.
Joy with an I, don't forget if you're listening. Key to Joy with an I.
Yeah.
To the word T-O, right?
Yes, yeah.
So yes, thank you. We appreciate you. And we will see you very soon.
Yep. Bonjour.
You're about to be lucky enough to listen to this amazing soundtrack we have. Right.
Exactly. I'll be on too.